decision-making and drive innovation. He's at the forefront of utilizing technology to address pressing social issues. His forward-thinking approach and strategic mindsets make him a valuable asset to any organization seeking to make a lasting impact in today's rapidly evolving landscape. Chukwuemeka's dedication to excellence, coupled with his diverse skill sets and unwavering commitment to learning, makes him a dynamic leader poised to shape the future of social entrepreneurship and corporate training in Nigeria and beyond. Everyone, please let's put our hands together for Mr. Chukwuemeka Okeke. I'm already seeing our responses in the chat of what we're looking forward to. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Chukwuemeka Okeke. Thank you, Janisha. I would also just read what I've seen so far. So Henry says he's looking forward to today's session on practical insights on how to become an effective leader. I'm not sure who administrator is, but they say I'm looking forward to strengthening my knowledge, gaining new perspectives, and improving my leadership and communication skills. I also hope to connect with what I learned here with my community work, especially in education and technology. All right. And on that note, I will be handing over to our facilitator for today, Mr. Chukwuemeka Okeke. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you so much, Felami. It's a pleasure to be here. Please confirm that you can hear and you can see me. You can hear me clearly.
Yes.
And you can, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. While you're reading that bio, I was asking myself, okay, I think I might need to write another one because I don't know who that is. So it's time to to just rethink who exactly wrote that one, honestly. But it is great to be here, and thank you so much for having me. I do not take it for granted. It is great to meet every single person on the call. And while I joined in earlier, I was just going through the names in the part of the participants on the call, and a few of them I struggle to pronounce, and I do not want to be one to murder people's names. So I would really love if we can come off mute. I'm just going to call us and we can say one thing that we're grateful for today, or we can say something that where you're from, or you can put it in the chat box as well. So in no particular order as it appears on my screen, I'm just going to start with Janisha. And that was a very lovely poem, by the way.
Hello, I am Janisha Gaya from Mauritius, and I am grateful that today I completed my mock test successfully and uploaded my answer script online. I feel happy now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Janisha. Okay. And it's great that you're from Mauritius. That is one place I want to be. I have a friend who's from Botswana, but she's lived in Mauritius. She attends, I think, ALU, or she attended ALU. So really amazing place.
You're welcome to Mauritius. Please come, sir.
All right. That's a free visa, by the way, guys. Shoot your shots. Henry, I see Henry on my screen as well.
Yes, sir. I am Sir Henry Patoma from Sierra Leone, and I'm grateful for life and this opportunity to learn from seasoned practitioners.
I do not know about the season part, but practitioners maybe. Thank you so much, Henry. And I have a friend as well who's from Sierra Leone. His name is Abdul Fari. Also, he's a social entrepreneur and he's a farmer in Sierra Leone as well. Fantastic place too. I have Ada Hussein. So Hussein, do you want to also come off mute if you can? Okay, while we're waiting for Hussein, I see Mohammed Abdirahman. All right. We've got Pascal Agley. I hope I didn't murder that. Please, you can correct me so I can pronounce it properly, because your name is part of your identity as well. Pascal, are you there? Oh, fantastic. Okay. And I see someone who bears the same surname like I do. Esther Okeke. Please tell me you're my sister from another mother. Esther, are you there? Okay. We can also put it in the chat box. I see Innocent Omo from Uganda. Innocent, if you can speak, are you from Eastern Uganda, Western Uganda, Northern Uganda? Because I was in Kampala, I think early this year, and I really, really enjoyed Kampala. It was really fantastic. Yakuba, and I think Yakuba would be from Sierra Leone as well.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much, dear facilitator, for giving me the floor. I am Yakuba Traore, not from Sierra Leone, but from Mali. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice one.
I'm really eager to learn from you all guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yakuba. That was really good. Thank you. And I also see administrator. If you can rename, that would be fantastic as well. I see Mohammed has responded. He's from Kenya. That's really new. I haven't really heard a Mohammed from Kenya, but it's great to see one for the first time. Adak Hussein as well from Kenya. Abdinor, are you able to also speak? By the way, I loved your presentation with the poem. Oh, great. Okay, so I see Innocent. Innocent has responded. That's Northern Uganda. Where I think the only places I went to it was Kampala. There was Mpigi. I went to Mpigi as well. A bit around in Tebi. Those were the places I visited. Hopefully, I'm able to go back to the game. But your weather is great. But your borders, you need to have another life to get on the border. You need to have a separate life from the one that you have if you need to stay alive, by the way, guys. So whenever you get to Kampala, go with the photocopy of the one you have. Then you can keep the original back at home if you're ever gonna get on the border. All right, I see Amina from Kenya. So we have the Kenyans leading the park. We have more Kenyans and a few others. And I have a friend in Kenya as well. His name is Nicholas Wangeri. He's a very good friend. He's into climate and circularity. So you see, I have a few friends everywhere. Now I have someone from Mali, hopefully, and then another person from Mauritius. So it's a great time to get into the session. Ferlami, I'm sorry I've taken all your students from you. They would give me visas before you. But it's great to start the session. Great. And I like the fact that a few persons say they're grateful for life. Another person was very intentional to say, Janisha said, I'm grateful for being able to complete my mock assessments and also submit it. So that shows that we're present, we're in the moment. So today we're going to be speaking very quickly to, if you allow me, share my screen. Okay. Please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. So I may not be able to see when we make a comment because I'm trying to show full screen. So if you need to speak, you can come off mute. Ferlami, please, by all means, let me know when there's a comment in the chat box. I'm going to take pauses. Okay. The class is going to be as engaging, as interactive as possible. My responsibility today is not to lecture. It is to facilitate. These are concepts that we already have an understanding of. So my job would be to help us really unpack some of them, help us deepen it. And I like what someone put in the chat box to say. So all of the things I want to learn today is to see how it connects to what I do within my community. That is, for me, the highlight of this session. If we're able to pick out one practical thing that we will leave the session with and then make it, imbibe it enough to then make practical actions, that will be the highlight of my entire month, honestly. So I'd encourage us, if you're currently doing something a bit different, just take a moment to sit down. It will be a very quick session. So I would encourage us to give it our 100%, be present, stay in the moment. We're going to take pauses so we can have a cup of water or something and take a coffee if possible. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to do this, Ferlami. We're going to be having a session on leadership development, and we'll be looking at it from 3 key areas. One will be building confidence. We're also going to be talking about values and then strategic thinking. And one quote that I like a lot, and the reason why I like it is because it resonates with me, is that tomorrow's leaders actually start today. And that's why every single person on this call, you're a leader in your own right. And what I think about leadership is that leadership is about influence. So if there is one person that you currently influence by your actions or inactions, by your words, by your lifestyle, you're a leader in that sense. Whether or not you're a great leader, good leader, a bad leader, that's on the one side, right? But understanding is that tomorrow's leaders start today. And what we hope to achieve is to build more greater leaders, positive leaders who make positive changes within their local communities. All right. So these are the key themes, like I mentioned. We're going to talk about confidence and self-leadership. What is value-based leadership, or what does it mean to have a leadership that is based on values? We look a bit at strategic thinking and some practical leadership skills. So like I said before, these are not old, really new concepts in that sense. They're actually old concepts, but we're going to see how to drive them to become more practical in that sense. And this is just a bit of the agenda that we have today. Very quick ones. Promise not to take your time, but more importantly, that we leave the session completely transformed. And I myself, I'm open to learn. I can tell you for free, very new, very fresh, very open to learn. So let's begin. What better way to really set the context of what youth leadership is within Africa? I know that we're not very unfamiliar with this concept to say that African youths proven over time to be the youngest anywhere in the world. It is said that 60% or over 60% of Africa's population is actually under 25 years old. And that's a very, very huge data or statistic. Why I say that, it means that we are in a very youthful population, which can pose as a threat or a danger, or can be an opportunity for skill and for profitability and for a lot of success. But what will make Africa's youth demography or Africa's youth population become the best, or give Africa that place in the Committee of Nations, would be what we do with the young population or the youth population. What it means is that 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 persons anywhere in the world will be African. That tells you the amount of influence that African youth hold within the world. Wherever we go in the world, you would have one within. When you have 4 persons or 3 persons seated in a place, you would typically almost have 1 African there. That's a high level of influence. But the question would be, every single African who would be in all of those places, what level of influence will they be yielding, or what level of influence would they prove within the context of wherever it is that they are? In our work, in our offices, in our churches, in our mosques, in our communities, what level of influence will the young population produce? The implication is that young people are the driving force for Africa's future, and giving young people access to education, access to leadership, access to technology will definitely be the game factor or the changing factor within the African context. I'll say it again. The implication for this youthful burgeoning population is that they will be behind the driving force for Africa's future in terms of development and leadership. What that means for every single person in this class is that you are the driving force for the Africa that we want to see. Every single time I wake up for the past couple of years, I've been waking up a bit angry at what the population or our parents have done with the Africa that we see today. If I take a statistics or a census or a poll now, I can almost tell us that 10 out of, or 11 or 13 out of 14 in this class would almost tell you that they're not comfortable or happy with the Africa that exists now. And that was because of what generations or centuries or our parents have provided for us. But the question is, will we inherit the same thing, or rather transmit the same thing to our children if we continue in this same trajectory? What can absolutely be the change is when we decide as Africans, as young Africans, to change the narrative in terms of development and leadership. And that is why this program itself is important. You can see what it looks like for African. 60%. In Asia, it's about 42%. In the Americas, North America, South America, right, you have it around 30-something%. In Europe, it is less than 30%. And Oceania, it's about 30%. That tells you that for the bulk population, Africa is almost ×2 what you have in 3 other continents in terms of the youthful population. That tells you the amount of resources, the amount of youthful energy, the amount of ideas, the amount of capital, human capital that Africa has at its disposal. Africa's youth are not just the future, they are the present driving force in the world. Very soon, I think in November, the organization I work with, Leap Africa, we will be hosting a Social Innovators Program and Awards convening, and the theme is Africa as the sector. Africa is not a continent. Africa is a sector. Just the way you have the educational sector, technological sector, creative sector, circularity, and green economy, you also have Africa as a sector. And why is that? Because Africa is a place where every single person now is going to invest. So if Africa is attracting FDI, it's attracting human capital, it's attracting a lot of balls, why can Africa not be a sector that is developed in itself? That's something to just think about. I'll take a pause. So let's get started. If anyone can come off mute and just maybe speak to what they understand by self-leadership. What does self-leadership mean to you? Anybody?
Can I go?
Yes, please. Who's speaking now?
It's me, Yakuba.
Oh, Yakuba, please go ahead. And then you can also put it in the chat box if you have other ideas. Go for it, Yakuba.
Okay. So to me, I think one of my mentors used to say that leadership starts with your self-leadership, because you cannot start leading people without knowing how to lead yourself, because everything depends on you. What is your leadership skill? You need to know your leadership skills, your leadership style, I mean, before trying to lead other people. So the reason why leadership starts with your self-leadership, leading yourself first. I think this is the most important before leading other person. So this is what I can say about that.
Fantastic. You're absolutely spot on, Yakuba. Very, very spot on. And I like the word that you used. You inverted it to say self-leadership is how do you lead yourself? What do you know about yourself? How much do you know yourself? I think it was Socrates, the great philosopher, who said, man, know thyself. Right? And that's a very big question. Not so many persons understand who they are. And if you do not understand who you are, how then do you lead yourself to then become a leader who leads other people? Because the biggest form of leadership... Sorry, say again. Okay.
Just wanted to call that to your attention. Janisha's hand was also up.
Oh, my apologies. Janisha, please go ahead. Thank you, Felami.
Thank you for the flow. So for me, self-leadership is to take charge of my own actions, mindset, and growth. It also involves my personal goals, motivating myself as well as others, taking decisions, managing my time effectively, and holding myself accountable even if no one else is watching. I would also say that for me, it combines my professional excellence and a commitment to making impact, being about empowering others, ensuring my work as a medical physicist, youth leader, or even in doing community projects and empowering my society all around. So it is a reflection of my weakness and strength, which seek continuous improvement as well as inspiring others. I would say leading by example. Thank you.
Fantastic, Janisha. I would rather just give you the mic to just complete this section of the class, because honestly, you've taken it away from just as an extension of what Yakuba has said to just really, really break it down. And I like different segments of how you put it in. While you're speaking to self-leadership, you mentioned your personality, you mentioned accountability, you also said something about leading by example. Really, really very vital. Self-leadership in itself is a module. Like if you need to talk about self-leadership, we'll do this for the next 1 hour, even 2 hours. Sometimes some persons even take it as a module for an entire week, right? Because you have to begin to think about who is this person? Who am I? You dig deeper into your different personality styles and then dig deeper into what makes you who you are, right? And then away from your personality, you then go into your profession, like you mentioned, right? there is Janisha as Janisha, who has passion, who has drive, who has likes and dislikes and the rest of that. And there's Janisha, who's a metaphysicist in the making, like you mentioned, and there's Janisha, who's a community leader in that sense. So to different persons and in different scenarios, you're actually different people, but the sum total of that person is actually understanding who you are. And that understanding of who you are helps you to better lead yourself, because leading yourself is influencing yourself enough that you understand what your strengths are, your weaknesses are. We know the SWOT analysis of who we are. And then we then move into say, okay, can I also yield the same level of it? That when I live my life, other persons look at me and get a certain level of direction or compass for their own lives. And that's what influence is, and that's leading by example. And then when you do that to a larger community of people, you become a certain level of influence that all the other persons begin to lead themselves, not like you have, but better than you have, if possible. And they also lead other persons to the point where you now become, John Maxwell calls it the 5 levels of leadership. To the point where you're a leader that every single person everywhere knows that you're a certain level of leader. But it's not about the position. It's so much about how do I lead myself enough that I know myself enough to influence myself enough to be better at how I lead myself. And as part of it is one, self-knowledge. And that's what Janisha and Yakuba said. How well do I know my strengths, my weaknesses, my values, my aspirations, my dreams, what makes me tick? What are my triggers? What are my habits? Right? A mentor once told me how he broke down what a habit is, that a habit starts with IT. And then with moving from being it, you then get to bit, BIT. Then when you move from bit, it becomes a bit, and then it becomes a habit, right? So all of these things are formed over time. And it's a self-sustaining process. It's a long period of time. It happens over the course of our lives. It's why when a person gets to 30 or 40, you hear people say, oh, he's going through midlife crisis. But that's the same person who had it all figured out in their 20s. When he gets to his 50s or 60s, another level of change happens. So we keep evolving, we keep changing. But the proper way to put it is, how do I know myself? How well do I know myself? Am I conscious enough? Am I aware enough to know myself? Right? The next part of self-leadership is also trusting in your abilities. And part of your abilities is to know that you would also fail sometimes. Even as a person, even as a professional, even as a community leader, you're trusting in your abilities, understanding that I know where I'm not so great at, I know where I function perfectly, and it's always evolving. Some persons start out to be a certain person and then become someone else. Some people start out to just be leaders, not necessarily leaders. They just want to be the best in their fields, and then you find out that they are leading others within their field, and people want them to say, you know what, we want you to go beyond your field to actually even do a lot more work and then lead us and help us. Very recently, if you know what's happened in Brazil, in Greece, what we found out is that people have said, some we call them public individuals, people who work in public service. Some people are just great at what they do, maybe as a director in the Ministry of Finance, or someone who's good with they call the person a technocrat, or someone who is great at business. And then you find out that the person has proven themselves time and time again, that the people say, you know what, we want you to lead this nation and not just lead within a segment. Why? Because they've trusted in their abilities enough that it's become influential in the work that they've done, that people now want them to lead in that sense. And another bit of self-confidence and self-leadership is being able to guide yourself. I like to say that what separates great leaders from not so great leaders, because I won't say bad leaders, but great leaders and maybe bad leaders in that sense, would be self-guidance. When Janisha mentioned accountability, especially when no one is watching, being able to lead myself, that's self-guidance. Not a lot of young people or older people who lead public office are able to lead themselves. Recently, I was watching a movie, the Hostage, and what happened between the major cast in the movie were two presidents for France and England, or rather the United Kingdom, being able to be honest enough. And when it got to the point of real self-guidance and honesty and accountability, people began to trust them enough. When they felt like they were trying to hide things from the people who they were leading, they realized that they were even digging deeper holes for themselves. So leadership starts with self-confidence, a belief in your ability to make a difference, within the sphere where you currently are, as small as it is, might be one person, but being able to continue. If you go on the Leap Africa website, we have a story about a Kene in UK, and this is someone who used to struggle with public speaking. And I like the fact that we started this with a public speaking bit of it, right? She had doubts about her ability to lead initiatives within her community. And this was someone who had gone through secondary school and was in the university and was really struggling with public speaking and her own confidence and ability to lead herself. Now, when a person has serious self-doubt, it is an area of struggle. What is she? But going through a session of self-leadership like this, she was able to build her confidence through understanding where her strengths and weaknesses are, being able to trust in the abilities that she had, and to know that what is the worst that can happen? I would fail at this and I would try again. Today, she leads over a team of 12 volunteers and has done a lot of work within her community. So self-confidence is the root, the foundation upon which effective leadership starts. So I'll take a pause here and maybe just ask a few persons. In trying to build confidence, we need to talk about practical steps. The person who's speaking to you, I usually used to have a lot of stage fright. I used to struggle with speaking to a lot of people, right? Over time, it was built over time. How did it happen? I started small. It might not be public speaking. To someone else, it might be, like Janisha said, oh, I wanted to submit my mock test today, right? I can almost say that if you were able to do tiny bits of it incrementally, you've built your confidence to know that if you have a task again, maybe sometime in another 3 months, and you would ask yourself, how did I achieve the one I was able to achieve the other time? I did them incrementally. I started small. There's a quote that I like a lot, and it's always been a mantra for me. It says, start small, learn fast, grow big. That's how you build confidence. Start small, you learn fast, and grow big. And then from doing that, you then set very clear, we call them SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, right? All of these are concepts that we already understand. But the question is, how do we make it very practical? You need to journal. People will tell you you need to write it down. The beyond journaling is that you need to begin to prove if what you've written down says you're going to do, you will do it. I always like to take a step further to say, can I have an accountability partner? Can I have someone who is able to guide me or hold me accountable if I cannot hold myself accountable? To be honest, I sometimes struggle with actually even writing some of these goals down. Many times I don't, right? But what I've always realized is over time, I began to do them weekly. So in a week, I would say these are the things I'm going to do. And over time, I come back and tick a few of them. Sometimes I'm not able to finish them. I have to carry it over to the following week. But I then realized that, okay, a better way to do this would be, if I write it down, can I get someone or a way where I can check them off, right? Different strategies. But the goal is you start small and you break them down. Then you find support. That part about support is accountability. You cannot do life alone. You cannot build confidence alone. We cannot change the world alone. We cannot lead ourselves and lead other persons doing it alone. We all need a support system. We surround ourselves with, I wouldn't want to sometimes I don't like using the word mentors. I like to use coaches, because a mentor creates like a bridge, like there's someone below and there's someone providing guidance. No, but coaching provides parity. There is exchange, right? And you have peers who also encourage you. And another way to build confidence is when you have those tiny wins. I like how Janisha had put it. She said, I was able to do this. That's the love. Celebrate it. Be happy about it. And know that if I can do this small one, I can actually do a bigger one. I'll tell you a funny story. So when I used to struggle with actually sitting down to read, maybe sometimes a book, what I would then do is I like peanuts. So I'll put a couple of peanuts in the pages that I want to complete. So I'll put some in the next page, some like 10 pages after, some 20 pages after. So when I get to that page where I've succeeded in reading, I'll eat the peanuts there. When I started first, what I'll do is when I know that I'm tired, I'll just go to all the pages where I haven't gotten up to, and eat all the peanuts. But over time, I started small. I started doing 5 pages to 10 pages I didn't start doing 20 pages all at once, right? Same thing applies with tasks. It has to start small. It has to be incremental, right? Some research will tell you that youth leadership programs, like this one you're currently on, would create improvement in your self-confidence by 78%, increase your motivation levels by 65%, and then your problem-solving abilities. Why? Because you're able to start small, make clear, measurable goals, get the right support system. And I can tell you for free, the set of people you have on this group are not just people who are here incidentally. They're here because life has brought them your way to be able to build you. I've come this far because of programs like this. There's a program I attended in 2018, and I can tell you that 3 jobs I've done from 2019 till now have come from a recommendation from one person I met within a program like this. So if I'm able to do certain things, I just reach out to my community and say, guys, this is what's available. Here's an opportunity. Here's a task. How do we go about it? Somebody is always available to say, oh, I've done something like this, or oh, I can connect it to someone like this. And that's how we build the right community for confidence, right? So we're going to do this very quickly, maybe for the next 5 minutes. Felami, if you can assist me. Rather than going to breakout rooms, here's what we can do. We're going to take 5 minutes. This is up to you. I'm not going to find out, but we call it the courage circle. We're going to write individually now. We'll take 5 minutes, write one specific goal that you want to achieve in the month of September going into October. You might not necessarily share, but make sure that one goal you're writing down, it is specific, measurable, achievable, very relevant or realistic, and time bound. It could be as simple as, I want to complete this assignment by this time next month, or I want to be able to go through a mentorship or sit with my mentor or sit with a coach for the next 1 month, 2 or 3 times for the next 1 month. Very, very precise, right? Once we're done with that, we take 2-3 minutes to do that. And the purpose of it is we want to build confidence so that if we're able to achieve that, we can set another one for the next three months before the year elapses, right? And then when we're done, if anybody wishes to share theirs, we can do that for 1 minute and then proceed. How does that sound?
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Okay. All right, so we can do this for the next 1 minute to it's 12:46 now. By 12:49, we can come back and then someone can share.
Maybe you could put the question up on the screen again, just so that they can see it. But I've also put it in the chat room. So everyone, we have 1 minute to think about this, write it down, and then you could then raise up your hand or type in the chat room. But ideally, it would be great if we could hear your responses. Oh, wow. I already see Janisha's hand up. I don't know if you'd like to wait for others to proceed or if you'd like for her to go. You're muted at the moment.
Okay,
My apologies.
should I proceed?
Okay, Janisha, could you give maybe 1 more minute, and then we can then take you, if that's fine. Fantastic. Okay. All right. Janisha, you have the floor now. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the
floor. And then
floor.
for others, we can put it in the chat box, please.
It is in fact what I was actually doing is to complete. So my goal is to complete all my scholarship application by mid-October. So
Right.
I will need to submit all the applications, including essays, recommendation, complete the forms, and it's 2 to 3 different scholarship applications, the Chevening, Commonwealth, and MasterCard scholarships. So I have already gathered all the materials and information that is needed. So I just need to scrutinize everything and put in order. And completing this application is essential for me to advance my education and career. So I aim to do a master's in medical physics. And the last deadline for Commonwealth scholarship is on the 14th of October. So in between, the results are earlier. That's all. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing, Janisha. And I think it's clear, right? If we're to use her example, the question I was going to ask as a follow-up, you eventually answered it at the end of your presentation when I was going to ask, what is the latest time to make any of the submissions? Because that then gives you a sense of how you break it down into a measurable time bound goal. So you know, with the time I have, which comes first? Do I submit the MasterCard first? Do I go ahead with Chevening? But you already clearly understand the timeline, so you know which comes before the other. So thank you. For the rest of us, like I said before, it is a personal assignment, and it's our responsibility to be able to do that, right? Because if you're able to lead yourself right and lead yourself well, it becomes easier to do the same with other people, right? So okay, so we can move on now. I hope you can see my screen. I'm having to just navigate a bit. Right. So the next is values-based leadership. Values-based leadership. How do we lead with integrity and aligning our decisions and actions with core ethical principles? It looks like a mouthful, but it's very, very practical, right? And here's how we can make it practical. So when we say that leadership is based on values, it still comes from a place of it still comes from a place of self-leadership in that sense, but that self has to have at the core values. I know we've had a statement that culture eats strategy for breakfast, correct? And each time I hear it, it always makes me smile. And why I smile is this: we have organizations who have the best talent, but every single time that within those organizations, those best talents leave, same thing happens to countries. Countries who have the best talents, the best people, most times those people leave because there's an endemic culture that doesn't support the growth of those talents. And at the core of that culture is a values problem, right? Why is value so important? Why is it so important that we're thinking about a leadership style that is based on values? Why didn't we say that it's based on vibes? Or why didn't we say that it's based on wealth, or based on what word can I use now? Resource, right? It's because at the core of excellent leadership, at the core of transformational leadership, transgenerational leadership, especially in the context of Africa, is values. We've had a value problem. I heard someone, a mentor of mine, make a very solid analogy. I pushed back, but he was very clear. What he said is, I'll give you an example. I do not know if we have, in your local language, do you have the translation for this word maintenance? If anybody does, do you have the word for maintenance, like the word maintenance? Do you have a direct translation? I'm not saying something that is close to it. The direct translation. For my own language, we don't. I don't know about other languages, but it'd be great if anybody does. Maybe I'll just come. I'm curious. I want to come off so I can see if there is a direct translation in your local language. Anybody? For the word maintenance. Maintenance. So I'm going to put it in the chat box. Okay, in French is maintenir. Okay, but within why I'm asking that is, here was his analogy. What he was saying is if at the core, please confirm you can see my screen. Great. So the core of African culture is the lack of maintenance. And he said that that's a values problem. It means that we build a lot of things, but we do not maintain them. So we do not value what is built enough to think about how we maintain them. Why I've created that analogy is within the core of the African culture is a lack of maintenance. And if we cannot even define or unpack to our younger generation what that means in local language, it means that there is no value enough for it. How then do we lead younger people to understand the importance of maintenance? That is just one example. So that then begs the question, what are the values that are aligned with you? What are your personal values? What are your some persons call it your ethos? What is your driving force? What is that thing that you say, oh, these are non-negotiables? What are they? Because making decisions and leading others based on the foundation of personal organizational values such as honesty is what values-based leadership is. But if you do not have your own personal values, you're led anywhere. Someone says that if you do not know where you're going to, every stop looks like the perfect stop. So at Leap Africa, we have our values. It's called Arise. So the A is audacity, the R is respect, I is innovation, I is integrity, the S is synergy, and E is excellence. So it means that for every single person who comes in or works there, they have to either embody this, else they can't function in that place. Why? Because if you have to carry on projects, you have to be audacious enough within the African, Pan-African context to drive that project. That means that as an organization, as an entity, as Leap Africa, there's a push for audacity, respect for your clients, respect for the stakeholders, respect for your staff, and respect for yourself as well, right? That's the values so you have to think about your own values to be able to lead yourself so that when and wherever you are, you embody and you lead those particular traits or values in that sense. Is what Janisha called being an example. Accountability is one of them, right? When youth engage in values-based leadership, we like to think that they become value-based professionals. Why? Because you live out your values. And that's what creates a ripple effect of positive change. If the values are not, they're very antithetical to your own lifestyle, you cannot say you're someone who values integrity. And then when you have an opportunity to falsify figures, you're not you can't. Because why? You live integrity. You cannot falsify figures and then leave integrity. It becomes a clash. Although that's what happens most times with leadership within Africa and outside the world, is why we have the problems that we have today. People want to amass too many wealth for what they cannot even live for. How many houses are you going to live in at a time? But there's a set of persons who are living on the streets because monies have been allocated for that. But we are redefining what values in leadership is. So all these are examples. You will need to figure out by yourself, what are the things that you value? Because if you're going to be a community change agent, if you're going to lead other persons, you yourself have a means to be able to lead yourself. So here's a scenario, and I'm just going to leave this for a bit. I want us to read through it. It's very simple. You witness someone in your peer group or you witness someone in your community being bullied during a community event. Others are either participating or some others are ignoring the situation. But as someone who is a values-based leader, what would you do? Would you stand up? Would you speak up? Or would you support the victim? It's very practical. I'm sure that many times we've been in scenarios where someone is just walking on the street, and within Africa, it happens a lot. Someone just says, oh, this person is a thief, he's a thief. It happens a lot in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. Like someone is a thief. Before you know it, people are coming out with tires, like car tires, and they're coming out with petrol, and they're trying to burn the person down, right? Without having to even be clear if the person actually has stolen something, right? Let's just say that that's the worst case scenario, but you just witnessed somebody being bullied within the community where you are and you're there. What would you do as a values-based leader? It could be a lot of scenarios, but this is just one. Would you stand up? Would you speak up? Or would you support the victim? And it'd be great to know what you would do.
Emeka, I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's changed. Okay, it just changed. I didn't see the change from my screen, but I think as you clicked off, I just saw it. Yes.
Okay. Please, just to confirm if other person saw it as well.
I can see the scenario now, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
The last
I'll
scenario
just leave
was
it.
the right slide.
Oh, I did change. Okay, my apologies. We can confirm if every other person's seen it. We can also put this in the chat box as well. What would you do in this scenario? Would you stand up for the victim? Would you speak up? Or would you support the victim? What exactly would you do? Or would you walk away? Like, there are many other options. These are just 3 options. But as a values-based leader, what would you do? Is there any hand up?
Janisha says A.
A, stand up. Okay, great. Sorry, I had to move away so I can see if there's anything in the chat box. Okay. Any other one? It'd be great to get a lot more persons. Share your thoughts. Henry, Mohammed, Pascal, Yakuba. I see Amina now. Abdinor, Esther, what would you do? Innocent as well. Okay. Henry, do you want to speak? I see your hand up. Yakuba says B. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would definitely stand up to bullying because one of my dreams or one of my ultimate goal of empowering myself is to speak truth to power. No matter the position you hold, no matter the influence you carry, the biggest difference I take in this world is either good or bad. So as long as it's bad, I'll definitely speak up.
Thank you so much, Henry. That's very, 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 very profound. I see other comments as well. Innocent said he'll speak. He'll speak up. Definitely, I see Abdino as well. Esther says she will support the victim. Yakuba, I see your hand is raised. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, your facilitator, for giving me the floor. As I said in the comment text section, I will speak up why. Because sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes like when we are in a community event, for example, those kind of things can happen when I can say you don't have the choice again. It means that the problem doesn't depend on you again. So the only thing you can do as a leader, maybe even if you can write a report to your authority, you can try to go or to find another resources person, other person who has like mentor who has more experiences than you, so that to help you resolve that's this kind of problem. This is my point.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Yakuba. Thank you, Henry. And for other persons who are responding in the chat box, I also see what the underlying thing I wanted to point out, and like we've rightly mentioned, is the fact that at the core or at the essence of values-based leadership is being able to do what is right. And that's the most difficult part. And that's exactly how you define what your values. Values are not defined by comfort. Your values are not defined only by what is when you have an opportunity to do it and do it well. It's actually defined, your true character, your true values are defined when there are difficult situations. People call it ethical dilemma, where if you're doing this, it's almost right. If you're doing this, it's almost right. But there's the middle point of actual right, and then you have no option but to do what is right. Because the truth is that you can walk away because it's not you, it's not someone in your family. And so in certain situations, you might even be put in a position where it's tough. Someone might even the bully might even want to beat you up as well. Are you going to walk away? But the point is that truth is not you today. It could be a family member tomorrow. It could be someone that's dear to you, your loved one, right? But that's just one scenario. The reason why we need to understand that the core of our value or of leadership or self-leadership or development is true character. And a true character is actually our values. Our values are revealed in the place of difficult situations that align with our values in that sense. Just wanted to point that out. So thank you so much, guys. To just move further very quickly, this is not a new concept, strategic thinking and planning. So as part of really understanding leadership development, you cannot separate self-knowledge or leading self and then values-based leadership without actually having to be very strategic in your thinking and planning. Because young leaders of today, young Africans who want to take positions of being able to lead wherever they are, whether or not they're in a particular position, need to develop the right foresight. Foresight is, I see where I am now, but I have a better vision of where I'm going to. And then beyond seeing it is, what are the plans and what are the skills and what are the capabilities that I need to develop to be able to solve problems? Because the reason why you will become a person of influence, which is leadership, is the fact that you can really profile solutions, you can provide solutions. The world will never pay you unless you provide solutions. And the world now is a level playing field with the advent and the proliferation of technology. Anywhere in the world, and the results that we get currently are as a result of the solutions that we provide. People who make the most money, people who make the most influence, right? Because money is not always influence, but people who make the most influence currently are the ones who are able to actually solve a lot of problems in that sense. So how then, or what then is strategic thinking? If I can get, who can read now? Someone can just read the definition of strategic thinking here. Anybody? Someone I haven't heard their
Developing
voice.
and planning skills for effective leadership and problem solving.
So, could you take the strategic thinking part again? Just this part.
Okay. Can I do that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Definition of strategy thinking is the ability to plan ahead, anticipate changes, and evaluate possibility to achieve desired outcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was very helpful. So, when we hear the word strategic thinking, it's made up of two words. One is strategy. The second is thinking. Like I mentioned before, at the core of strategy is culture, values. At the core of values and culture is understanding self, knowing who you are, because the people make up the culture then makes up what the strategy is, right? But when we think strategy, we're saying, how do we plan ahead? And in trying to plan ahead, why are we planning ahead? Because we anticipate that changes will happen. The world was not what it was in 2020. The world was great in the early late 90s, right? Until the millennium came. A different concept began to come in. Technology changed everything. And then when it was 2020, the world changed again. A lot of things completely changed. Some persons were years ahead. What happened was, I just got a new job in an organization that was developing training and curriculum for individuals in technology vocation, technical vocation and entrepreneurship, so TVET programs, right? And we're going to do a training just a month. So what had happened was, I just joined the new, and I said, oh, to make this thing actually even bigger, we cannot get every single person from the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria as young persons. What if we do this online? We already have Zoom as a platform. Rather than get everybody, rather than pay stipends so everybody can come into one location, is it possible that we do this online, but then we then do a follow-up to then see how developed these guys are with the training that they've done? That way, rather than train 20 people, we can train 100 people with the funds that are currently available. And they're like, okay. And before we could even get into it, COVID struck. This was supposed to happen in February, and then COVID happened, and it became a lockdown in March, April in Lagos. So it just seemed like, in a sense, I just sort of saw it coming. And what happened was that we pivoted and did the training, and we're able to train well over more than 100 people, right, with that particular model. That's strategic thinking at work. So how do we think about the work that we do and envision possibilities? It might not necessarily be mitigating problems. It can also be scaling the work that we do, right? So it might be reducing the problems or reducing the challenges that we've encountered, but at the same time, it could also be improving the possibilities that can exist with the solutions that we're providing in that sense. Because at the core of strategic thinking is problem solving. The reason why we are thinking strategically is either to solve a problem. And in solving a problem, you're creating new solutions or new possibilities, or you're reducing the effect of current ones. So strategic thinking also means anticipating opportunities and also anticipating challenges, like I said, right? At the core of opportunities and challenges is the problem solving in itself. And then you act accordingly to create the vision or the future that you envision. What then is embodied in the strategic thinking process? We've talked about it before. For a person who wants to think strategically, there has to be, first of all, a target, a goal. Then it has to be a plan that gets in place, right? Because a goal without a plan is a wish, right? And then you get to the point of execution. You then evaluate and adjust, right? These 4 steps look very simple, but at the core of it is a lot of pivoting, a lot of adaptability. That's where your values come in again. Are you someone who is stuck on, I have to do things this way? Or are you adaptable? Are you flexible enough? Are you adjustable enough, right? So that when you set a goal, this is what needs to be achieved. In the pursuit of that goal, in trying to accomplish that particular goal, you then realize that the process itself is creating a lot of successes in themselves. And then when you get to that point, you realize that you made a lot of success, even better than the one you set initially. So the first thing is you set the goal, you then develop a plan. Now, in trying to develop the plan, there's a lot of community in it. There's a lot of people in it, a lot of ideation in it. Then in execution, you realize that while you're trying to bring this plan into action, many gray areas will exist. You cannot completely factor in a lot of things. Sometimes your plan is going great and government regulations can completely change the dynamics of it, right? You then have to pivot. Then at the end of the day, the reason why you're evaluating and adjusting is to find out the goal that I set initially, have I been able to achieve it? Have I even achieved less of it? Do I need to change it? Do I need to adjust? Do I need to be flexible? The Global Economic Forum, as one of the biggest skills for 2025 and even for the century, flexibility, adaptability, critical thinking and creative thinking, communication and problem solving are at the core of it. And that's exactly why we're having this conversation in the first place. So we're going to do an activity now, a very quick one, maybe for the next 10 minutes. Is there, I think I might get Feolami's idea on this. What we can do is, I wanted to know if there's a current project that teams are currently working on. And if there are current projects that teams are currently working on, are they able to just use this strategic thinking approach to it and then make a presentation? Or is it something that they can do and come back with a presentation maybe after this class? Which do you think works, Feolami?
Okay, so for them to graduate, they're going to do a capstone project, but the details of that has not been shared with them yet. But I do think that this could be helpful when the details are then shared with them for the capstone projects. But we do let facilitators give assignments. So if that's something that you would like to do, that would be awesome. And they're already in groups already, so maybe you could also just work with that.
Perfect. Oh, I think we're in sync. Thank you, Feolami. This works, right? So this is what I'm going to do as a precursor, not to overburden you with doing all of this while your capstone is coming. What I can suggest is you can, within your groups, just think of one project that, and I like the fact that you're from different countries, right? So that one problem that's affecting a particular, you can decide on what that problem is, what that challenge is. The first step would be you have to think of what that problem is. So you have to define it, the what. The next thing is why you think that that's big enough for you to address. Why is it big enough as a problem that you think it requires a solution? Then you strategically get into the how. So the first is the what. In your group, you agree what that is. Then there's a why. Why do you think that that's big enough as whatever statistics, whatever it is, you tell me why you think that is. Then you get into the execution, the how. So how do you think you want to achieve it? Are you going to leverage technology? Are you going to leverage human resource? Is there a budget for it? Just you figure it out, right? And then the final would then be the when and where, right? Where is it going to happen and when is it going to happen? So with these 5 key areas, you define that and you can make it into just a 5-point presentation. Very simple. I don't know like a lot of aesthetics, but just very simple. What I want to find out is exactly this. How do you involve a lot of strategic thinking into the design for projects? Because when you eventually leave this program, you will get into your own personal projects. You're going to get into group or community-based projects. The idea of what strategic thinking is has to go into it. So what is the goal? The goal can also be the problem. How do you plan to go about it? That's the why and the how, right? And in the execution as well is the what, is the complete how, right? What's the plan? Is there, are you going to be, what tools are you going to be leveraging? What people are going to be leveraging? What strategies are you going to be leveraging? You have to figure that out as well, right? And then you evaluate, right? If we apply this solution, this is what we think can happen. So you can make it scenario based. If we do this, we believe that this would happen. If we do this, we believe that this will happen. We're not going to find out whether you're correct or not, but we just want to see I want to see the attempt at your group strategic thinking. I don't know if that's clear. If I get a thumbs up, I'm also going to share the slides, so don't worry about it. If I get a thumbs up, if I get a comment in the chat, that would be great.
So this assignment will then be put on Google Classroom for them to attempt to do in their groups. So then one person can submit and then I can share their results with you too.
That would be fantastic. That works great.
Okay.
All right. So I think we can quickly just move on. Thank you so much, guys. Maybe I'll take a stop here, just check how we're feeling. Quick one before we get into questions. Thank you, Genevieve. How are we feeling? Too fast, too slow, confused? It's okay to feel confused because it can happen as well. Okay, Janisha says it's good. Okay. Any other? Great session, Yakuba. Okay. Okay. All right. I think we're wrapping up now. I'm going to take questions soon, but before we call it a day, what's there? Right. So these are just a few things to help us work within our groups when we think about strategic thinking, because leadership, like I mentioned before, is not a one-man show. Leadership is not a one-man show. While you aim to develop yourself, you have to realize that you're not an island. You're not living in a separate world that is not influenced by other people, right? There are some key things that you need as skills to develop yourself, because if you want to be a well-rounded leader, you have to immerse yourself into the scenario, the situation where the people who you're going to lead currently live in. Research indicates that leadership training programs like the one we currently have, like I mentioned before, build the necessary significant soft skills, we like to call them soft skills, that develop leaders. And there's teamwork abilities and the rest of them have developed. One key one is communication. And I know that someone mentioned that they would really love to learn how to develop their communication while they work within teams. Now, communication in itself is a module in itself. It requires a lot of, there's the 8 principles of communication. It has to be clear, concise, coherent. We call them the 8 C's of communication. Sometimes I've stretched it to become the 10 C's of communication. You say a lot when you're not saying a lot. You're nonverbal. Your written communication as well, developing how you can write proposals or emails in a clear manner, because leadership is the sum total of all of the values and skills that you actually show. Communication is one of it, right? How are you clear? How are you very respectful with your communication without actually saying a lot? Another is teamwork, right? And I like to compare or combine teamwork with systems thinking. While it's great to work within teams or collaborate, it's also great to think about systems, how the work that you currently do will impact someone else who picks up from where you are, or impact someone in a different industry or someone in another country, right? I like the fact that we're in different countries and we need to work within teams. But how can the work that someone does in Kenya impact someone who's in Uganda? Because that's Eastern Africa. We talk about the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement, the AFCTA, right? That's something that if we can push, becomes something that develops interregional or cross-border trade. I know that 2 countries now, Burkina Faso and Kenya, they've been able to do borderless travel within their locations, right? That's to encourage trade. So that's going beyond teamwork. It's actually saying, let's think about the entire system within Eastern Africa and the entire African context as a whole. How can we develop leadership within this region for cross-border trade? That's them leading in their own way by pushing the narrative around teamwork and systems thinking. Systems thinking is the higher level of teamwork, while teams make up a smaller portion, systems make up the bigger portion, right? Another will be problem solving, which involves a lot of critical and creative thinking, and then time management. like I said, all of these are skills, and with every skill is development. It's incremental. It doesn't just happen over time, overnight rather. It happens with as you practice. It's just like football, just like a sport. It's just like cooking as a skill, right? You do not become better at it by not doing it. You become better at it by failing at it, by doing it again and getting better at it, right? It would be great to do one more role play before we call it a day. But then again, yes, let's do this. But the only difference is that we're not here physically. But I'm trying to look at the best ways to do this. So I'm going to ask a question now, and it's a trick question, but it's a very, very interesting question. It will require us to be a bit vulnerable. So here's the question: is there what are for the skills that I mentioned, maybe not on the slide, just generally to you, right? As a leader, is there one skill that you think you need to develop that you currently struggle with? I need us to think deeply. Is there a skill that you need to develop as a leader that you currently are struggling with, but you know that you need to develop it? It might not be on the slide, but just thinking about it holistically. If you have one, you can share. Okay, I see Yakuba's hand. While Yakuba is speaking, we can also put our comments in the chat box so another person can speak. Yakuba, please go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, your facilitator, for giving me the floor. I think some Omo just come to say what I was going to say. It is about problem solving. Oh my God. Because I'm a person who wants to work in a team, as a team. So as you know, working in a team, we have many persons coming from different backgrounds, from different culture. We don't have the same way. So problem solving remain my biggest quality to resolve. Thanks so much to develop. If you can share some tips to help me, I will be very grateful.
Great. Thank you so much, Yakuba. And so I see Yakuba and Innocent have shared that problem solving is a skill that's a challenge. Okay, can I get maybe another person? Genevieve, you can speak if you can. I don't think I've heard your voice as well. Amina as well. If you can speak, that would be great. Then we can sort of wrap up with that in the next 2-3 minutes. Or you can as well put it in the chat box. That would also be great. Okay, so while we're waiting for, okay, so Janisha says technical skills, that will be medical physics, because healthcare is great, which is constantly improving, and there's to keep up to speed with technology for cancer treatment. All right, so Henry, I see your hand is up as well. Please go ahead. Thank you so much, Janisha.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So be honest with you, it's planning. Either be it strategic or normal planning, because most times us without no experience, meaning the real world experience, without being involved in anything apart from volunteering, but no particular formal structured project or any formal something that you have to partake in. So planning, thinking about what's to be done the day before the D-Day, what's to be done on D-Day, what's to be done after days after rolling out the projects for us coming into the real world. It's somehow always a wishy-washy. So that's the biggest thing for me, planning.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Harry. Thank you so much. Okay, I see Genevieve's hand. I'll just take them all together. Genevieve, please go. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts. So mine is the place of audacity and confidence, in as much as, let's say, I'm in a place like when I did internship, I was working with people quite elderly and already familiar with the system. So even when I have new ideas, I don't really have the boldness and the confidence to share my idea, or if I get any negative comments or reaction, I'll just leave it like that. So that's it for me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much indeed for sharing, Genevieve. And I think I'm going to start with Genevieve's thoughts because it is something that a lot of young persons struggle with, especially if they're working in a space where they're one, like Henry said, they're not so familiar or they don't have a lot of experience. And then they now managed, I use the word manage, they're able to just get out of their shell and now say, okay, I'm going to try and intern here, I'm going to volunteer here, I'm going to work here. Now, somebody somewhere is making some very nasty comments about the work that you're doing. So rather than give you constructive feedback, they're giving you feedback that doesn't even help you in any way, but they're killing your confidence, like you mentioned. And then I like the word that you use, audacity. The truth is, part of self-leadership is knowing that you will not always get it right, but being able to pick yourself up again and do it right. But that's coming from you. But now that is, what if it becomes external? Someone else is the one who's pulling you down. And this is something that I know is become a challenge for a lot of young persons because mental health is like a word that's flying up and down for especially for a lot of young people. I say it because it's become really increasingly important to say that the word grit, I'm going to put it in the chat box, grit is something that a lot of young persons do not have these days. Grit is stay power. I'm not saying that when someone keeps pulling you down, you stay in a very toxic environment. No, what I'm saying in essence is, have you built enough capacity within yourself that you know what you can do and what you can't do? And that when someone tries to pull you down or talk down on you and give you control, feedback that is not helpful in any way, you're able to go back and say, okay, what exactly is this person trying to say? And have you been able to unlearn exactly what this person is not trying to say and pick out the core messages from it, and then come back to that conversation and say, sorry, you mentioned 2 days ago that I wasn't doing X, I wasn't doing Y, I wasn't doing Z. I appreciate the fact that you give me this feedback, but here's what I think I can do better. You then optimize it. But the person then realizes that, okay, this person actually understands or has a sense of what I have said, it wasn't taken out of context. I'm not talking about people who do not want your interest at heart. Now, no, that's a different case. The person will keep doing what they're trying to do, right? But you are the one who's responsible for your growth, building the audacity that you need, and building the confidence that you need. If the world doesn't give you a platform, you pick a platform. That's how the world is. Most times the world doesn't give you the opportunity to want to shine. You have to be the one to be able to take that step to lead. I'm not saying when you, for example, the scenario you gave, you can just walk into the office. For every single task that you're given, as small as it is, you do it so well. You make research, you ask questions. Technology has made it so even easy. You ask questions, and then you have the audacity to do it well. So the audacity you're trying to build is to do it well. Do it so well that I like to say that results silences critics. And it doesn't mean that the first time you do it so well. Be ready to fail and fail forward. It might not be easy, but you build it over time. That's one thing I'll say. Then to Henry, I'll be honest to say that I still struggle with planning. So I'm not going to come and sound like I have it all figured out. No, I still struggle with planning. But here's what I try to do. It gets better over time with constant. So how you do it is, as someone who's doing a lot of projects, I currently have one that I'm going to do it in October, and another one is going to happen in November, involving a large 200 people, almost 300 people in the room, right? What I'm thinking is I like to think about the project out of the box, but I do not think about it alone. I ask myself, who are the people who can support me on this project, who this project directly involves or indirectly involves, and then I think about them. I think about myself in the shoes of those people who are going to do it. So I then begin to write down. So it's a class on project management. That's a separate one. But what I can say is, like you mentioned, you've clearly articulated it. You even have proven the solution. The solution is, what do I need before, during, and after? Then you have like a matrix, an itemize. Some people call it the RACI. You can also research about it, RACI, right? Who are the people responsible for this? Who can I hold accountable for this? ROA, responsibility, accountability, who then gets into the execution of it. And then you can have them as high profile, low profile. So these are people. You can do it for people, you can also do it for the project. What things do I need now that if I do it, it helps me to do others? I like to call it important and urgent. So it's called the prioritization metrics, right? I move from one, which is the RACI. I'm going to put in the chat box. You can also research it, the RACI method of project management. And there's also the prioritization metrics. Prioritization matrix, right? So these two are tools that are used over time, right? So prioritization matrix says what things are important, what things are urgent. Most times we tend to do the urgent things because that's what's calling, but the important things help us to achieve the urgent things. I'll give you an example. For someone like Janisha who needs to pass an exam, for example, who needs to submit something, gathering, like she mentioned, gathering all her tools, gathering all the resources is important, but it's not urgent. What's urgent is submitting the work. But the important thing is to gather all the documents, read all of them, know how to outline them, and then submit them. So the important thing first before the urgent things, because the important things allow you to do the urgent things. So that's the same thing applies before, during, and after. So you have to think about every single element of that project from a standpoint of what's important and what's urgent. The important things need to be done ahead of time. Stakeholder engagement, conversations, building a concept note, having those conversations before you get to the point where it becomes urgent. Urgent is execution, but preparation is important. Preparation is important, execution is urgent. But without preparation, you cannot execute. I don't know if that sort of makes sense. Then lastly, to problem solving. I'll be honest to say that if you strategically organize and plan, problem solving becomes easy because problem solving is the result of a lot of work that goes into it and it happens ahead of time, right? So how do you solve? You have to think strategically, you have to be creative, you have to be critical in your thinking. So it means that you need to develop the right skills to be able to solve problems. But the first thing is you define the problem. There's a method, it's called the SUSE method, SUSE. The S is you see the problem, you understand the problem, you then solve, and then you evaluate. It's called the SUSE problem method of problem solving. So you see the problem. See the problem means you identify a problem. A problem you cannot identify, your name is a problem you cannot solve. How then do you understand the problem? You ask a lot of questions. You ask underlying questions. So why? So why? So why is this? So why is this? So how is this? Who is this thing affecting? With all of those questioning, you get to the root cause of the problem. Then you get to solve it. You solve it by that prioritization matrix. Which one is important? Which one is urgent? Then you evaluate to check if the solution you are adapting to that problem actually solves the problem or not. If it doesn't, you then go back again to re-understand the problem. It's a cycle or a circle that needs to happen. And this thing happens and is built over time. I hope that with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you as to why youth leadership development is key as a nexus for connecting us to being the future that we seek within Africa. Thank you.
Everyone, I'm seeing your likes, your claps. Can we all please give a round of applause? If you can unmute, you can also clap. I've learned so much from today's session. Everyone, please give a round of applause for Mr. Chukwuemeka Okeke. Let's leave our thank yous in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very, very much for such an insightful session. As I've been here, I've just been listening. My notes are full because, you never know everything. You always learn from every session you're in, regardless of whatever space you are in that session. And I've been able to learn so, so much. And I'm sure our participants today have also been able to learn a whole lot. So I would really like to thank you. And I also like to thank Leap Africa for bringing you on board so that you could be part of this lovely session. So thank you very much for a lovely session, and thank you to Leap Africa for the connections to have you part of today's session. I know that we've taken a bit of your time, but then if anyone has any questions before we let you go, I'll really appreciate if the questions could be answered. So you could start leaving your questions in the chat room, or you could raise up your hand and unmute yourself, and then Mr. Chukwuemeka can answer your question. So the question should be related to the session. If you have any questions regarding any of the other activities we do, I would answer that after he has gone and finished with the questions related to today's session. Okay, I already see Akiba's hand up.
Thank you so much. So much. It was an insightful and great session. I really appreciate it. I learned so many things. Thank you so much, your facilitator, for that wonderful, I can say a master class, really. I've learned so many
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And it was really interactive. So I have two questions. The first one is, now, how to lead in this area of digital? because as you know, we are living now in a very digital world where leading is not easy. You can find many persons in your team coming from different backgrounds, different culture, different cities. So how to lead effectively in the world of digital? Thank you. This is the first question. The second one,
okay.
the second one, just I think the questions are more similar.
Yeah.
The second one is how to lead in this world again, where it is very, very difficult to find uh, a quality called integrity. Because now in the workplace, it's not easy to find very humble, very honest person in this kind of workplace. But how to live
Yeah.
in this world? Well, everything seems to be forced. How to, if I can say the word, I don't know if you understand. Yeah,
Completely.
where you
Yeah.
cannot trustworthy team members. How to live in this area. So those are my two questions. Thank you so much again, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. I think thank you so much, Yakuba. You've been a very okay. Genevieve, you want to ask them? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Yakuba. I think that was those are very insightful questions, and you've been very interactive within the session. So I'll be honest with you. I'm going to start from the second question. Integrity is actually a very, very scarce commodity, and with every scarce commodity is a lot of premium or price that people have to pay for it. What it means is, if you're someone who has integrity as a value, especially in a very integrity-less society like we live in, especially in the place of work in our communities, it means there's a lot of premium on you. You're an extinct individual, if I was to put it that way, right? You know, there's some animals that right now, if anybody was to have access to them, especially when they're going into extinction, they can pay a premium for you. So what I would say is it becomes even difficult, right? The way animals who are going to extinction are treated with a lot of care, a lot of I don't want to use the word let me use care. I don't want to use another one. Let me use care, right? It's the same way you should actually treat yourself. So the only way we can have a lot more people with integrity is to have you as Yakuba being someone who will stand with that same value of integrity anywhere you find yourself. And let me say this, that you failed to be a person of integrity today does not mean that you cannot be a person of integrity tomorrow, right? What is integrity is a value and a skill that can be developed over time. But it becomes difficult in the face of pressure. Sometimes it means that you might need to let certain things go. It means that you might need to let certain opportunities go. You might need to lose some friends. You might need to lose some contacts. And that's the truth. I can tell you for free that within Deep Africa, there's some projects that we had to let go because we know that if we were to get into it, some organizations will ask you for kickback. Kickback is that they will give you the money, they will get the money, but they'll tell you you're going to give a percentage of it back to us because we be able to connect you to it. So rather than get into that mix and sell a name that's been built for more than 20 something years, that's two centuries, we would rather let it go. Why? Because what I've actually realized is just working within this space is that at the end of the day, these people come back to you and tell you that they want you to be the one to do the project when they've decided that, you know what, if we do not get it right, we don't get it right. But how can they come to you when you're like every other person? So it means that you have to fight against the bandwagon, and that's a difficult thing. So in itself, it is a difficult place to be, but it's the best place to be. Because at the end of the day, you know that you live at peace with yourself. And remember, I said it's a personal value. And then in the place of work, as difficult as it is, people know when they want to come to you. I have so many stories to tell people who have been people of integrity and how it has always paid off, but it always comes at a cost. Like I said, your true character never comes in the place of comfort, it comes in the place of difficulties. That's how it's tested. To your second question, that's something that we currently even struggle with. Even just talking with my director of programs recently, to say that the place of the digital economy is overwhelming, especially for young people who want to develop themselves. Like when you're thinking one tool is enough, and you're trying to navigate one, you're getting like 3, 4, 5 more coming. Like, what exactly is happening? I was just trying to speak with a friend recently. I was talking about Web3. I'm like, great God, which is Web3 again? I'm not conversant with Web1 or Web2. Like, you guys are talking about Web3. Are we in the same space? How exactly do I then live? We're talking about ChatGPT and someone's talking about DeepSeek, someone's talking about OpenAI. which one exactly do I do? Or you're talking about one tool that does something to develop you have more than 15, 20 apps that does one particular. What I would say is this: I don't have all the answers, but what I do is I just focus on one particular tool at a time. When I get to master it a bit, I then ask myself, what other tool can do this? And then I do a comparison. Oh, this can do this. Because when DeepSeek came out, when OpenAI came out, I started using three different ones or four different ones, the Copilot. So I realized that if I need clarity on something, I know what app to go. So I just try just three of them. If I need some answers from, I can put the same question into three different apps or tools, and then find out exactly what I want to find out. And that has taught me over time that I need to then develop my prompting. So prompting as a skill is even something that's being developed. I can tell you for free now that even interviewers are asking people who have been interviewed for roles if they have certain skills in terms of being able to prompt technology for their own benefit. What I'm trying to say in essence is this: the only way not to get overwhelmed by a digital drive or craze now is to just really pause. At the end of the day, is why do I need this tool? For what purpose do I need this tool? If I need this tool, what can actually give me the best result? Can I try this? If it doesn't give me, can I try something else until you get? That's how. If not, you're going to have like a plethora of them that you're not able to really figure it out. And in the midst of all of this, technology is a tool, not life in itself. So you have to be able to find yourself in that midst by taking a deep breath and recentering. So at the end of the day, have it no technology day. At the office, sometimes we have what we call a no laptop day. What it means is that on that day, there are no meetings, there are no laptops. But I'm privileged to work in a place that will tell you there's no laptop, meaning that for that day, there's no technology. Go into the field, do gardening, go to the farm, stand to an animal, do something. That's what life is. Technology becomes a tool for you to use, not using you in that sense. I don't know if that helps. But like I said, I don't have all the answers. So yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's
You're welcome.
Great. Does anyone have any more questions before we call it a day? Anyone? Still seeing people? Let's use the opportunity well as we still have Mr. Chukwemeka here with us. If you can't speak, you can. I think I saw a question from Janisha earlier. I think the question was regarding the assignments. Oh, okay. Okay, I think you've already responded to that. All right. Okay, then. If there are no more questions, I would like to thank you very much again, sir, for being a part of this session. I really, really appreciate you and Nipaka for training our participants today. I'm really excited for what they've been able to learn and hopefully see how they're going to grow over time. I would get back to you on getting the slides as well as getting the details of how they should go about the assignments. Usually at this point, we would call out the attendance for everyone to be able to. Okay, Yakuba has a question. Any possibility to join you through your social media? So do you have social media platforms you'd like to share?
Yes, I'm just putting my LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then on Instagram, those are the only two I think the other ones are, I don't know. I don't think I live in the same planet with some people, but yeah, on on Instagram, that will be Chooksby11. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he's left his socials for Instagram and LinkedIn, so you can copy that from the chat room. That's Chukwuemeka Okeke MSc and then Chooksby11 on Instagram. All right. Thank you very much once again. For those who didn't join live and will be watching the recording, I will just call out the attendance password so that you can mark your attendance. So the attendance password is lead today 25 hash. So that's capital letter LEADTODAY 25 hash. Because I don't know everyone may be able to read that. So that's lead today 25 hash. So make sure you mark your attendance on the Google Classroom. The link has also been shared in the chat room. Attendance is the only way we can confirm that you are part of today's session. So that's lead today 25 hash. Once again, lead today 25 hash. On that note, once again, Mr. Chukwuemeka, thank you so much for joining us for today's session. Really appreciate you, as well as your knowledge that you've been able to share today. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. My hope is that when I get to see these amazing individuals sometime in the future, they will be doing really amazing stuff. So, Asante sana, merci, Dan Kishan, obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And once again, the attendance password is lead today 25 hash. Make sure you mark your attendance.